Hello and welcome to my review for Invincible Season 4. This is just going to be the first half of the season, the first 4 episodes. We just watched the 4th episode yesterday, and I want to sit here and talk about it. This video is not going to be coming out until the 31st, so a day before the 5th episode, but I just want to talk about it because usually I would wait until the entire season is completely finished, but I kind of want to get my thoughts out there for this first half because I think the latter half is going to be much better. Not that this first 4 is bad by any means, but I think that where this story is leading is going to be really good. If you can see back there, I have read all of Invincible. It's one of my favorite comics in general, and I am really excited for it. So I just want to talk about the first half of this season really quick, season 4. And this is gonna have spoilers and stuff in it. Again, the season is not done. I'm not gonna be spoiling anything that happens in the comics. I'm just strictly covering this first 4 episodes that we've seen on the Amazon Prime TV show. I just want to talk about it because I think it'll be easier for me to make a part 1 and a part 2 than trying to talk about the whole thing, because I don't want to miss some of the stuff that is in this season. So, with that being said, I'm going to start off. The thing that I love about Invincible is Mark's moral dilemma, his constant back and forth of trying to decide whether or not how he wants to be a hero. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with killing villains or killing people as a way to save humanity from threats, but it also is working with some people versus working with others. And I love Mark's character. And this season specifically so far, I can already see the themes, which is always around, ever since season 2. Again, I'm going to kind of talk about that for a minute here. Ever since season 2, Mark thought that he is a murderer, and we find out that it's not exactly true, but Mark's mental back and forth of trying to figure out if he's a good guy, is he like his dad, is he a good hero, all of that is super engaging and interesting, and these first 4 episodes are right up my ballpark, right? So you have the first episode has to do with the Sequid invasion, and basically at the end, we get some more stuff than that. But at the end, Mark basically ends up deciding that killing one person to save the entire planet is worth it, but it weighs heavy on him. And I think that this is super good. Again, it has been a little bit since I read the comics, so I don't remember if this exactly happened this way in the comics, but it's super good. It's super enjoyable. I just, Mark's character is so well done. I really like characters like this moral dilemma of whether or not saving villains or killing villains or putting them up or locking them up. I enjoy that personally. I like Mark's back and forth. I also like how Batman doesn't kill his villains, because I think I like him. I like the fact that Batman he knows his morals and he sticks to them and he will not break them. And on the inverse of that, I also like Punisher a lot. I like characters that are very strong in their moral compass and believe in it wholeheartedly. Again, Batman versus Punisher, right? Punisher is 100% willing to kill anybody that gets in his way, not even just villains. And Batman will actively go out of his way to keep them alive. I like both of these characters, even though they're opposites, because I like a kind of character that has a strong moral stance. Mark is very interesting to me because he constantly wavers back and forth. I'm gonna kind of relate his character to somebody who a character that might not be the best relationship, but hopefully I can explain it well enough. The thing that I like is that Mark, and I'll get to the other character in a second, Mark, the decisions that he makes are very, very influenced by what he is going through at the time. The character that I'm going to relate him to, which is another Robert Kirkman character, is Rick Grimes from Walking Dead, right? Depending on the choices that Rick makes in the show, in the TV show, and in the comics as well, but which I also have read back there, but specifically the TV show, you can tell basically what season you're on by the decisions that Rick makes and the headspace that he is in. Spoilers for The Walking Dead. It's a very good show, and I'm sorry that if you have not seen it, you should go watch it. But, for example, Rick starts out the show as officer friendly. He won't kill humans. Wouldn't even think twice to kill another living human being. It's the dead is the enemy, right? Then you get to season 2 where it's not that easy, and Shane is a threat to his group and his family and also to other people. So he does what he has to do. Then you get to season 3 where when they get to the prison, it's like Farmer Rick, right? They haven't had any run-ins with any villains, or at least, the governor is a thing of the past. And so you have Farmer Rick where they're safe, they're secure. He is probably not going to kill people for the sake of doing it, right? And he tries to, when the governor comes back, he tries to make a deal with the governor, tries to be this Herschel type character. When, again, spoiler for this show, when Herschel dies, all bets are off. Rick is untrusting of any human. He will kill anybody to get what he needs. He is only worried about, and so with Mark, I like the moral back and forth of, should I kill? Should I not? I thought I killed Angstrom, but I didn't, and he came back and killed many more people. I like the back and forth because the things that happen to Mark literally affect him on a day-to-day basis, and it's super good. I just love shit like that. It's so enjoyable to me because regardless of if you're on Punisher side or Batman side, where you think all people should be given a second chance, where if you're on Punisher side, you're like, no, don't even give them the opportunity to redo anything that they already did, put them down, kill them. With Mark, it's never black and white, and it's always like, you have to look at it case by case with each villain. It's like, is this villain trying to get better? What is this villain trying to do? You know what I mean? Like, Angstrom is like okay, you probably could have killed that guy. Conquest, you have to kill that guy. You know what I mean? Like the Mole Man or whatever, the guy that like comes up from the underground and is like, oh, these Earth dweller, or like you humans or whatever. You probably don't need to kill that guy. Like, he's not that big of a threat, which he kind of is, because he brought a lot of heroes underground, and I think it was the 3rd season. But like, you know what I mean? Conquest versus Mole Man. If you have to kill one and save the other, it's kind of a no-brainer. And that's what is fun about Mark and Invincible in general, is like, it's never painted as black and white. Like, okay, I know that with Conquest you have to kill that guy, that's pretty black and white, but like, Mark's morality, what I mean, his moral compass is never just black and white. You have to take in everything that he's going through and all that stuff. So that's Mark. I like Mark. Mark is a great, like a fantastic main character. So episode 1, that's with the Sequids and stuff, with the Sequid invasion. He decides to kill a guy, and it weighs heavy on him for the next 3 episodes. Because, he felt like he was doing the better thing, but he killed somebody who was innocent in the meantime, and he kind of it fucks with them, and it's so enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. I love that first episode. Very good. I want to just throw this out here, and I talked a lot about Mark and how he's my favorite, or I didn't even say he's my favorite character, because he's not, but I talked about how he's a very good main character. But the beauty of Invincible, and especially with the show, or at least the comics, in my opinion, Mark's not even the best character in this show. Eve and Debbie are my 2 favorite characters, and it's almost not even close. Like, Mark is definitely 3rd up there, but Eve and Debbie, and again, with these shows, relationships matter. It's kind of hard, like, it's kind of hard to say, oh, Eve is my favorite character, because she's so intertwined in Mark's story. So if you like Mark, you like Eve. You know what I mean? They're kind of intertwined together. But Eve as a character, and again, I know I said I wasn't going to say anything about the comics, but in the comics, because I have so much like inside baseball knowledge of like what happens, Eve is my favorite character because she works so well with Mark. It's so good. A lot of people in the Invincible fan base will shit on Amber, and okay, she can be annoying. It's a funny joke. She's annoying. She's like, why aren't you coming to my family reunion, Mark? People are dying. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, shit, I got bigger shit going on than your fucking family reunion. But the thing that makes Eve so much better than Amber is strictly just because Eve is a superhero. So she gets it. And their relationship is so good. It's my favorite fictional relationship of all time, personally. I just think they work so well because they're both so understanding of each other. And again, this kind of deals with the comics later on, and again, I'm sorry about that if you only watch the show, but just from what we've even seen in the show, they're so understanding of each other, where Mark is fucked up mentally, Eve's stuff is going on with their powers, but they never are like, get over it to each other. They're very understanding. They just work so well together, I think. And then I love Eve as a character. I think she is a character that works so well with the main character that she is basically a main character herself. And I just like her powers. Her powers are really cool. A lot of people say that she doesn't use her powers to the best of her ability. Okay, fair enough. Now I'm going to jump to Debbie. Debbie is the best, in my opinion, the best superhero mom. Period. I don't care. Me and my friends were having a conversation about this between Elastigirl from Incredibles and Debbie. The thing that sells me on Debbie more than Elastigirl is Debbie has no superpowers. So she, first off, the things that happen in the first couple seasons with Debbie, the comeback that she has had is so good. The hearing that your significant other that you have a child with calls you a pet and says that you mean nothing, that is terrible, dude. That is terrible. But then she was like kind of drinking a lot, but now she's with Paul. And it's enjoyable. It's just I love Debbie, dude. I love Debbie. She's the most reasonable, understanding character. She's sending her children. She's not sending, but her children are going to fight for humanity, and she allows it, even though it's begrudgingly, but she's just so good. She's just so great. I just love her character. I love Debbie. I don't know. I just, every time she's on screen, she just makes the most sense. She's enjoyable. She's great. I love Debbie. Okay. Now we're going to jump to episode 2. This is Alan and Nolan episode. We get the backstory of Nolan. By the way, not in the comics. That is big. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We saw how Viltrumite society was. They don't necessarily dive that deep in the comics. So seeing a young Nolan, which at the time we didn't know it was Nolan, or at least I didn't, which I was like, this guy kind of looks like Mark. That's odd. And then they say it and you're like, oh shit, okay, this makes sense. So it's Mark's grandparents. But it puts into perspective how these people were raised. And I kind of want to talk about something that might be a little bit deeper. And it does so much for Nolan's character, I think. I think that seeing how Nolan was raised does so much for Mark's and just the whole storyline of Invincible, okay? All Nolan knows is this Viltrumite way. We know as humans, this is not the way to go about shit. You have to put in yourself in Nolan's shoes. Because, again, this is the thing I kind of want to jump into. When people who are born in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, right? They're much older. They're not with the times as much. So if a person who's born in the 40s grew up their entire life for 20, 30 years where racism was kind of okay, like it's never okay, but back then segregation is a thing and it's normal. Like that's the norm. So if you grow up like that, of course it's going to be harder for you to change your ways as you grow older because, I'm not a big scientist smart guy, but they say that your younger years are where you basically have the most effect on who you are. You take in the most information and that is basically a display of who you are, right? So the Nolan flashback does so much for his character because it puts into perspective his headspace in season 1 where he got his ass beat by his parents. So Mark should be able to do the same thing. And his dad showed Nolan mercy. Nolan's dad showed him mercy, so he shows Mark similar mercy. And you can also say, living with humans, his Viltrumite heart or whatever kind of got watered down by humanity's love and affection and things like that, and his love for Mark also. But I this episode was fantastic. They also did the funny bit where Alan's sleeping with his girl and it's super loud, because that was also in the comics. And I literally said to my wife, I said, I hope that they do a bit that they did in the comics, but I don't know if they will. And they did. And they did it the first time, and I was like, that's the funny bit. But I was like, I turned to my wife, I said, they do this, there's like a couple pages where it's just the same thing of Nolan trying to sleep and they keep like fucking super loud, and they did it multiple times, and it's super funny. But this episode, super great, super good. Like probably the best episode of the season so far. I think Nolan's redemption is going to be really good. If you watch the show and you don't see them trying to redeem Nolan for what he did in season 1, you got to open your eyes, dude. That's not a spoiler. He's gonna get somewhat of a redemption, whether or not you want to forgive him or Mark does or Debbie does. That's not up to you, but they're trying to redeem his character. Okay, episode number 3. So this one is, I want to talk to you guys. How do we feel about Titan? I am weirdly not interested. And what I mean by weirdly is I don't remember in the comics if this leads to anything, because Titan is in the comics, but I don't remember how much of effect this plays. And so constantly seeing him, it's like, oh man, I wish I was just with Mark or Nolan or Eve or something. Not really Titan, but it does give Oliver something to do, which in this season, again, Oliver is progressively aging faster. That is follows the comics. That's how it is. He looks almost spot on to the comics. He gets a new suit. He looks cool. He is helping out Mark. With Mark, he has a lot going on with Invincible Inc. He can't really be everywhere at all times, so Oliver is taking in the reign, or picking up the slack basically. And I like Oliver. I enjoy Oliver's character. I don't mind the Titan versus the dragon guy, or like the crime syndicate underworld. I just don't remember what it leads to, or if it does lead to anything. And so I'm kind of like, like I would rather kind of see something else. But that's also because, and this is not necessarily the show's fault, or episode 3's fault, where we're going is some big, fun, exciting things. And with the seasons only being 8 episodes a season, I want to get as much big, super entertaining stuff in as possible. So where there's an episode, episode 3 with Titan and the dragon guy, I am just like, come on, I feel like we're wasting time. It's not filler. It's not necessarily filler. I just feel like we could be doing something better with these episodes. Like we have limited amount of time with a season, because again, there's 8 episodes and then the next season will come out next year. So like, I don't want to wait a whole year to see some cool shit. So it's like, come on, fill in all the cool shit that we can. But it's not a bad episode. A lot of people in season 3 complained about the animation, said it was bad. I give you that. It didn't ruin it for me, but I can see how some people watching it are like, oh, come on, dude. Another thing people complained about, the animation in with Eve and Mark walking like out the door, and they just look like stick figures like hopping along or whatever. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind. Okay, episode 4 kind of fits in with episode 3. What are we doing? We kind of okay. I prefaced this video with saying that I like the moral compass of Mark jumping back and forth. What episode 4 does, I enjoy. The conversation that Damien Darkblood and Mark have, where it's like, hey, sometimes you got to pick the lesser of 2 evils, you know what I mean? The demons are enslaving or are torturing the Vial, so that way humans can live. That the Vial have to be contained. So you have to do that. You have to do the torturing so that other things can flourish. So you have to do the evil thing. You have to pick the lesser of 2 evils. I like what that does for Mark's character and his moral compass. Again, I've said that before, multiple times. I enjoy that kind of decision reasoning, you know what I mean? Especially with, again, with Mark and Art having a little quick conversation of like, you know, you saved a whole bunch of people and you did kill somebody who's innocent, but you did the right thing. I enjoy that kind of stuff. The problem I'm having is this feels really disconnected when Mark is not on screen. And again, obviously he's the main character, but like before they call Mark, this whole episode kind of just feels like filler. But again, the Damien Darkblood stuff is not in the comics, or at least it's not as prevalent. If it is, if I'm misremembering and Damien Darkblood is a bigger part of the comics than I'm remembering, I'm sorry. But this is a real quick. I want to say I'm not a big like, oh my God, it has to be accurate to the source material. That doesn't bother me. Robert Kirkman has already said that each Invincible variation is like a different universe. So the books are going to be different than the show. They're technically two separate universes. I'm assuming they're going to follow similar paths, but they don't have to be exactly the same. So it doesn't bother me that Damien Darkblood is here. It just feels disconnected because we don't care. I don't care. A lot of this episode also, they kind of went for jokey comedy stuff with Satan like getting bigger and he's like, oh yeah, I feel great. I'm like, I'm not really laughing. His design is kind of wonky. The whole like when Mark and Damien are falling and he like does the mask bit where it like closes and opens. I didn't really laugh that hard. It wasn't doing it for me. I liked the show, but it wasn't doing it for me. I don't know. But the one thing that got me to laugh out loud was I'm not kneeling to Satan. That was perfect. That was perfect line delivery. And also like Mark one-shotting Volcanica like 3 times over and over. Like it was pretty enjoyable. But I just don't feel like it does a lot for the story except being a conversation for Mark to justify what he did. And again, I like that, but also this is a 48-minute episode. Mark doesn't show up until the last 15-20 minutes. So for 25 minutes it's just the underworld bullshit with Damien and Satan, and it's like I'm not interested. But real quick things to like wrap up on, because this is long. Eve being pregnant, super cool. I enjoy it. Why her powers are on the fritz makes sense. One thing I want to say, I cannot. Monster Girl and Rex or Robot going to the Flaxen dimension. That's big shit. That's big. I want to say Cecil frustrates me so bad because he's always talking about how Mark has potential to be this big threat and this big planet-ending destructive force. And he does I get it. He has contingency plans. He's like, if Mark freaks out, I have these things, these sonar things in his ear. I got these Reanimen that are able to fight, that are able to fight Mark and whatever. Why is if he's so scared of Mark flipping out and destroying the planet, why does every decision he make push Mark to becoming what he fears him to be? So I'm afraid that Mark is going to destroy the planet. So we're going to keep Conquest alive. We're going to take Mark's dead bodies and make them Reanimen. Then we're going to keep D.A. Sinclair on the thing. And we're going to... You want Mark to fucking flip out. You want Mark to do that. And it's so frustrating when people are like, Cecil's always right. If Cecil is always right, then why is he keeping Conquest alive? Why? Because here's my thing. They want to study Conquest and see if the Viltrumites have any weakness. That's great. I'm going to do this as a hypothetical, as if we did not see Conquest escape. What if Conquest escapes and Mark isn't around, or Mark isn't able to beat him this time? Because mind you, Mark only beat Conquest because Eve was there. So let's say Mark isn't able to beat Conquest this time, and Conquest takes over the entire planet. That is Cecil's fault. Mark had him basically dead, and Cecil decided to keep him alive. It's just frustrating when Cecil makes dumbass decisions, but everybody in the community is like, no, he's doing it for the smart reason, because it's so annoying. again, I like Mark more than Cecil. I think Mark is a teenager he's the strongest superhero on planet Earth, basically, and he is actively trying to save people, but it's never that easy for him. And like, I don't know. I just find Cecil, I get his whole character, the contingency, thinking forward into the future kind of character, but he just makes some of the dumbest decisions, and then people back him like, yeah, Cecil, good job. You doomed the whole planet if Conquest didn't fly away. Like, they literally got so lucky that Conquest decided to leave. Yes, he only has one arm because his gauntlet got destroyed when fighting Mark. But like, dude, Conquest was holding back that entire fight with Mark because he wanted to have fun, and he only lost because of that. Like, Cecil just makes dumbass decisions. Also, one last tidbit. I love this mummy bit that they're doing. I find it funny to where he's like he wants a male host, and then he finally uses a woman, and she's like, you could have done this the whole time. Like, I like that. I think that's a funny bit. But anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. And yeah, we'll do the last part in a couple weeks once the season is done. But yeah, let me know. Have a good day.